Namaste, Namaskaram, Vanakkam, Namo Namaha, Jai Ganesha. And if you'd like, please visit our website at classicalyoga.org, and there's a donate button there, and we can use your help. Because after all, that's the way all true religious spiritual teachings, and relevantly the Hindu yoga teachings, are given on a donation basis, so that everybody's free to come, and also because you can't buy and sell the gifts of the Spirit. Hence today's phony yoga. So today's podcast, we're going to look at direction with discernment. Okay, direction is really important in life. If we go back to the Chandogya Upanishad, which is really one of my favorites, because it's so complete and it has an understanding there of the different types of shishyas or chelas, if you will. You have the young Satyakama, who goes off into the forest, lover of truth, Satyakama. And he learns from Nandi, Shiva's bull. Nandi comes to him and teaches him the 4 legs of Brahman. And the first leg is direction. Direction in life. Know where you are, where you've been, where you're going. North, south, east, west. Dhruva, Dakshina, Purva, Pachima. Notice in the Hatha Yoga of Hinduism, we have asanas to the different directions, like Pachimota asana, west-facing posture. Purvota asana, east-facing posture. So direction in life is very, very important. Being able first to take them, and then we'll be able to give them. So it becomes a balance of give and take. But direction is not enough without discernment. So in America, we don't get into politics here, but in America, we recently had a very tumultuous election here. And the one side, the catchword was going forward. And going forward is fine, but if we're going forward into a ditch, well, then we need to go backwards. So there can be a goodness in going backwards rather than going forward. You remember the classic picture of the perfect storm? Where they obviously went forward because of a lack of information, also greed. It's an interesting film to watch. They went forward into the bowels of the beast, into the perfect storm. And obviously they all died from that massive hurricane. So we can go forward into a ditch, or we can go forward into goodness. And sometimes we need to go backwards. So direction is everything, but direction with discernment. We start off our satsangs with our GPS. You all have them, right? But this is the internal GPS, finding our inner direction by 3 things: gratitude, persistence, and sacrifice, GPS. Dhanyavad, Vira, Seva. In other words, to have a good inner compass, if you will, inner direction, inner grounding. On a daily basis, say thank you. That's gratitude. Say to yourself and others, I can do this, we can do this, persistence. And then sacrifice or service, seva, who can I help? Just begin your day and end your day with those simple 3 things. Thank you, I can do this, who can I help? And end your day, it's our little vahana, kuchnavi. So remember, Nandi is Shiva's vahana. And we love our vahanas, we love our little animals. Shiva loves Nandi, Parvati Ma loves Simha, and Durga Ma loves Bengal, and Ganapati loves Mushika. So we love our vahanas, and we even have them in our mandirs. Very interesting. Hindu Dharma is so all-encompassing. And remember, when we use the word Sanatan as eternal, we're recognizing... She comes again. Sorry, folks, for the rear end shot. Yeah. Who's that? Is that you? Who's that? Huh? Yeah, you want to say hello? Okay. Meow. Which obviously cats developed to get our attention. So where were we? So we love our vahanas, our vehicles. Nandi Vahana, direction. So our GPS, begin and end your day with saying thank you, I can do this, who can I help? And then end your day with the same thing. Did I say thank you? How persistent was I in accomplishing my tasks? And did I help anybody today? That's the way to find your inner compass, your inner direction, so that we go forward into goodness rather than going forward into duplicity. And you know, it's the same thing with the chakras. Hey, honey. Yeah, she's a good girl. Oh, she's such a good girl. Okay. Alrighty, you gonna Okay. I see you. Yeah, we see you. Yeah. You know, our vahanas, they're just full of love and light and energy. They're pure atmanas, right? And they have a conscious mind, but their subconscious mind is not all that developed. They don't have a sense sometimes of proper etiquette, which we as humans do or sometimes don't. So the chakra is also within all of us. Remember, a chakra is both wheel and a flower bud. So a wheel can go forward, it can go backwards, right? And again, sometimes it's good to go forward, sometimes it's good to go backward. All of you know you've been stuck sometimes in your vehicles, and if you go forward and you're stuck in deep mud or sand, you just keep spinning your wheels. So sometimes you have to back up to go forward. So similarly with the chakras, right, we can go forward in consciousness or backwards. And very interesting that, again, in this election season and in these current times, many people have chosen to go forward. And we mentioned the word Sanatan, right, which means there are some basic eternal principles. And so if we really believe in that, then there are some things that really shouldn't change. Look at the whole non-binary mess and the transgenderness. Right? Things change, but sometimes they change for the worst. Look today, fellow Hindus, at yoga. Very interesting, right? Here's something we can look at. Here's a dictionary, and it's great to have a dictionary in your house. This one's well used. It's from 1933, and this was our family dictionary growing up. So my parents always encouraged myself and my brother, if you don't know the meaning of a word, do your best to try to figure out what it means. And this is really important in Hinduism. When you look at Rishi Kalidasa, for example, he said, Vagarta vihiva samprita, words and their meanings are ever united like a marriage. Of course, in today's divorce culture, anything goes, and if anything goes, anything goes. But all of you who are into quote-unquote yoga, which is really all about the Hindu dharma, as we'll see. Patanjali, the Saiva Hindu Guru Patanjali, he said, Sabdayana nupati vastu sunyo vikalpaha. You enter into delusion, vikalpa, when you take word knowledge, sabdayana, that's devoid, sunyo, which is also the zero, Hindus invented, of facts, vastu. Vastu sunyo vikalpa. Sabdayana nupati vastu sunyo vikalpaha. Words and their meanings. So this is what I did as a teenager, obviously growing up in the West. As really a non-religious person, I became a Hindu in my early 20s. So this is what I did when I heard the word yoga, which was bantied around in the 60s. So I went to the family dictionary, and I looked up in here, right, yoga, and it says yoga SKR. So what's SKR? So I went to the front. That's an abbreviation for Sanskrit. So yoga is a Sanskrit word, so I looked up Sanskrit, and that's here too. Remember, this is a Webster's Dictionary from 1933. Sanskrit. The ancient Aryan language of the Hindus. So Sanskrit is a religious language. It's the language of Hinduism. And look, there's another word in there, Aryan. I thought Aryan was about the Aryan race or Hitler. Not at all. It was absconded by Hitler. He used that word Arya to try to create a narrative, right, for the German people. But Arya too is another Sanskrit word, and it means noble. An Arya person is a noble person. So here's another example of going backwards by letting others redefine Hinduism for us, right? And here's a shocking one that's just been revealed fairly recently, is the swastika, which is in here too. It simply means a sign of auspiciousness. It's a Sanskrit word. Simply and profoundly, it's an auspicious symbol. And it's found in many cultures, not just in Hindu culture. But actually Hitler never used the word swastika, which is a Sanskrit word. He used the word Hakenkreuz because it's a similar design. But Hakenkreuz is a Christian term. It really is a reference to Christianity. You can do your own research. One of the great organizations, KONA, the Coalition of Hindus of North America, did a great expose on this. So you can check it out. You can look on YouTube. And he never even used the word Sanskrit. That was interjected later by a Christian priest. I believe his name was James or John Murphy, because they wanted to disassociate any reference of Christianity to Hitler, so they blamed the Hindus again. Wow. So Sanskrit is the ancient Aryan language of the Hindus. So therefore, all these words that are bandied about today, and people love to steal our Sanskrit Hindu words, and they'll never give any reference to Hinduism, or they'll flat out deny it. So then we look up yoga here in the dictionary. It says yoga, Sanskrit, Hinduism. Boom, first word. So from a young teenager, when I looked up the word yoga, I automatically knew it was Hinduism. So then I started doing studies and research in Hinduism and found out that yoga is a Sanskrit word. And it actually, folks, has nothing to do with your physical body. See about going forward into something that's, in this case, totally disingenuous, totally dishonest. They're going forward into this so-called yoga of today that's totally divorced from Hinduism, because yoga, this Sanskrit Hindu word, means yuj atman brahman cha, to yoke yuj, Y-O-K-E, to your atmana, which is our Hindu word for the inner essence. It's not soul, it's a bit different. We've done podcasts on this. You can check it all out, other videos. Yoke to your atmana, and then Brahman. And Brahman is not God, please, Hindus. We don't worship God. That's, again, we're misusing their term. To the Christians, they developed that word, capital G-O-D. It was an Anglo-Saxon word, small G-O-D, but the Christians put the capital G-O-D on it back in the 5th century CE in order to remind everybody that there's only one male, as opposed to goddess, creator, being, noun. That's Christian. It's not Hindu. There are some fanatical Hindus, yes, and then Hindus just misuse the term. And why make it a superficial term? Then it loses all of its meaning, and it's really insulting to the Christians. I mean, we don't believe in that as Hindus, but we're misusing their term. And so if we want them to respect our terms, we need to respect their terms also. So God is the one male creator, being, noun. So with this understanding now of yoga, to yoke to your atmana, and Brahman. Brahman is our neuter term for the greater sources of love and light and energy, or Sat Chit Ananda, Jyoti Shakti Ananda Shanti, of which we are an individual, or Jivatma, if you will, an individual aspect of that Brahman. So that's the meaning of the Sanskrit Hindu word, and Tamil also, equal credence, yogam. Yuj Atman Brahman Cha, to yoke to your Atmana, and then Brahman. Now, then this poses a question, well, how do we do that? Well, this is then living the Hindu, yoga, religious, spiritual, scientific, philosophical lifestyle, which is why the prefix is so important. Karma Yoga, Hindu ethics. Bhakti Yoga, Hindu devotions. Raja Yoga, Hindu contemplations. Remember, meditation is simply an English word that means to concentrate. So we're not going to go too much into all this right now, but we've done podcasts on this before. Remember, the phrase yoga and meditation is very confused. It's combining two words that don't really fit. And it's giving the mistaken notion that yoga, which is what most people believe today, is just a physical exercise under some kind of vague universal spirituality. When remember, in fact, the word, Sanskrit Hindu word yoga, has nothing to do with the body. It's all about yoking to the Atman. And we do that through Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, and then Jnana Yoga are the outer and the inner studies. And within those classic 4 yogas, we have Hatha Yoga, the Hindu devotional postures, Mantra Yoga, another word that's misused today. Those are Hindu devotional chants. Japa Yoga, Hindu chants on beads, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Nada Yoga, Hindu music, Nata Yoga, Hindu dance, all stimulating the inner awakening, which is the outcome. Kundalini Yoga. That's another one that people like to teach because I guess it's chic or esoteric, right? But that's really the outcome of living the Hindu, yoga, religious, spiritual, scientific, philosophical lifestyle. Remember, it's all of those things. And we are Hindus. There are many synonyms, but don't fall into the trap of the invaders and divide yourself. Don't say you're a Sanatanist but not a Hindu, or Vedantist but not a Hindu. Right? All you Vedantists out there, remember that's the end of the Vedas. And in order to get to the end, we have to start at the beginning. And you never give a new student, for example, an end without a beginning, right? So it's always Dvaita to Advaita. So, there's a perfect example in today's spurious yoga movement of going forward into something that's now totally deceptive. And that's why we have hot yoga and power yoga and dog yoga, laughter yoga, nude yoga, goat yoga, beer yoga, Ted's yoga, Mary's yoga, Kino's yoga, Adrian's yoga, how to make six figures as a yoga teacher, and blah, blah, blah. So we've gone forward into a degeneration. Totally opposite of Sanatana. These are not the eternal principles anymore. This is something that has been fabricated. Again, getting back to the going forward into, the pits, if you will, going forward into non-binary and transgender nonsense, really, and men beating up women in women's sports. Going forward into a bunch of nonsense, right? So we need to back up sometimes and go back to good, sound principles. So we have a interesting festival coming up called Sivalaya Deepam. And that's the great story of when Siva manifests as a pillar of light, and Brahma and Vishnu come up to that pillar of light, and they're both seeking to find the end of that beautiful, powerful light, beam of light. So Vishnu hops on his boar and bores down into the earth to try to find the end, right? Remember, he can also fly because he has Gauruda. We'll get into that in a moment. But so Brahman, he leaps on Hamsa the swan, and he sees if he can find the top, right? So they both come back to the middle, and Vishnu, being honest, right? That's why we say Hari Hara Ekarupa Gunashila. We look at Vishnu and Shiva as brothers. And actually, this is really significant here because this festival is supposed to remind all of us Hindu that we don't believe in a one male creator being, because Brahma, he came back and he lied. He said, no, I found the top, because he pretended to be the creator, right? Come on, folks. Right? There is intelligent design and there is creation, but nobody yet has been able to prove that there is a creator that created all things. Right? That's the whole God thing. And many Hindus fall prey to that too, going forward into really what's something that really is not the profoundness of Hinduism. So at that moment, when Brahma lied and he got some innocent flowers, the kaiki flower, to back up his story, right? That's what people always do. They always need somebody to back up their lies or fabrications. So out of that moment, Shiva appears out of the pillar of fire and scolds Brahma. And obviously hugs Vishnu. Actually, they're brothers-in-law, Shailaputri. So Vishnu and Shiva, brothers, having held to the truth, and they kicked Brahma out. That's why there's one or two small, insignificant mandirs, but there really are no mandirs to Brahma, because we don't believe in a one male or female creator being. When it came to those ultimate things, our rishis just simply said, who knows? Oh, come on. That's humility. That's the understanding. That's humility. When we understand, not overstand, which is our ego. We know the creator. So, Gauruda can also, or Gauruda is also Vishnu's Vahana. So Vishnu can also fly. He can go with the boar and go down. He can also fly. So Gauruda is interesting. And so we did a podcast on this, right? Do you want to soar with the eagles, right? Or hang around with the turkeys, the domestic turkeys? Wild turkeys, no, that's another creature. They're very proud, very strong. Domestic turkeys, no. So do we want to fly? So I was thinking of that. So again, this is why it's wonderful to have a dictionary, right? Very few people have them today because you just Google everything. But dictionaries are great because they give you a word succession here. So if we look up the word flight here, the act of flying, right? So now obviously we want to fly into something good. Remember, again, the perfect storm. We don't want to fly into a storm, right? We want to fly into something good, flight. Direction is everything. Remember, that's how we started off. Direction is very important, but direction with discernment. In what direction are we going? Are we going into something good? Or are we going backwards into something bad? Or forward into something bad? Depends, right? So if we look at the word flight here, and I'm almost running out of time here on the video, so I'm going to rush a little bit. But if we go downwards, right, after flight becomes flighty. We all know what that is. That's a flibbity-gibbet. And then we have flim-flam. What's a flim-flam? Flim-flam's a con person. We want to be a beacon. We don't want to be a con. Check that word out. We want to be a beacon, climb up the spiral staircase of the lighthouse and become a lighthouse. Don't go backwards, right, and be a con man or a flim-flam person. Flim-flam man, flim-flam woman. We want to become flimsy, and that's wishy-washy, right? Flimsy. Remember the word mimsy in Jabberwocky by Sinclair? All mimsy were the borogoves and the bone raft South Grave. Mimsy was a portmanteau, a combination of being flimsy and miserable. Mimsy. Interesting word. Then you have flinch. When you flinch, when you do a negative reaction. Right? Then here's an interesting word that I never have used before or heard used. Flinder. Flinder is a piece or a splinter or fragment. So this is really important when it comes to, in this case, studying the Hindu Yoga Dharma. We don't want to just get pieces of it. You don't want to look at a small piece of the Yoga Sutras, for example, which had been totally distorted. We've done podcasts on that. We don't want to look at just one piece. We want to try to get the whole picture. We don't want to just have a flinder or a piece, a splinter. And then the next one after that is fling. Many of us are just stuck in flings or fads. We just go from one extreme to the other, whatever the newest fad is. Ripped jeans, and then another fad comes into play. And hopefully this yoga fad is just that and will die out and will establish the true Hindu yoga dharma. Remember, again, real yoga is all about the Hindu dharma, taught by Hindus and not for a fee. Anybody can learn it if they want, but again, true to every single religion, taught by Hindus. And again, true to every religion, taught on the donation basis. So we see we have gone forward into a total distortion of what is true yoga and a total insult of true yogis. People run around calling themselves yogis and yoginis. I'm not even a yogi anymore. I was for a while, because a yogi is a total renunciate. That's when we go off the grid. We live off by ourselves and really are not in communication with society. And all swamis are supposed to go through that before they start to teach. So again, we're almost through here. So we want to, instead of going in a reverse direction or in a forward direction into negativity, we want to fly and go forward, because if you go from flight up, then the next word here is flyer. We want to fly. Soar like the eagles, like Gauruda. Dance, prance, send me into a trance. Pirouette on my worldliness, spinning it out of sight. Let us join hands and dance. Round and round we go, never stopping. Love is the only thing we know. This is the dance of Shiva, the spiraling dance, right? Around which that's the Nagdevata around the lingam, the spiraling dance of creation. All the way from the galaxies right down to the bottom of the ocean, the conch shell, to the cochlea inside your ear, the spiral dance, spiraling around the black hole, the lingam, the absolute. Meditate on that one. So I hope this has been inspiring to all of you to seek direction in life, but direction with discernment. And so then, as we go, relevant today as it was thousands of years ago in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Lead me from untruth to truth, unreal to real, phony to real. Lead me from ignorance to enlightenment, and always tapping into that Amritam